Hey, welcome back to Shadow Shorts. If we've never met before, my name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners. And every weekday, I bring to you an interview, a conversation with an expert or thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. And today is no different. I'm joined today by a colleague of mine, is Matt Ohlman. He's a CTO and general partner at Shadow Ventures, and he's also working with us over on the partner side in different roles over there as well. And so one of the things I really love about Matt is his focus on tech and understanding of tech, specifically in the world of investing. So I thought today we could talk about tech diligence and what to look for, how to understand what you're getting in investing. So Matt, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining me for this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been waiting in the wings for my call on Shadow Shorts, so I'm glad to be here.
There's a little bit of tongue in cheek there coming
No,
coming from Matt, but it is great to have you here. And I'm always is probably one of the least technical or tech savvy guys on the team. I'm always just mind boggled when I hear you and KP and others talking not only about tech but also how you're doing that due diligence and what how to know what you're getting into when you're looking at investments. So when you were going through that process, what are you looking for? What are you looking at specifically, I guess, on the tech side before you say, "Hey, thumbs up, thumbs down. This is something we're going to pursue on the investment side, or it's not."
yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's a big part of my job at Shadow Ventures, right? As a CTO, that's kind of why KP originally brought me in. I think my job has morphed a little since then to other things, but it's the thing that I enjoy doing the most. And I think it's super important. A lot of investors, I feel like, especially at seed stage where we invest, a lot of people kind of brush over the tech diligence. And I've gotten some nasty DMs before from people about, that doesn't matter. Like, why are you even wasting your time doing that? It doesn't matter. But I actually think it's pretty important. I mean, after all, if you're investing in a tech company, part of what
Mm.
you are investing in is the tech. So it is important to understand what you're doing. So I think there's a couple buckets, right? When you look at early stage investing, like a pre-seed or an angel round, yeah, looking at the tech is less important because most of the time the team hasn't built any tech. So you're really making
Right.
more investment just the team itself. Then when you have your later stage rounds, Series A, Series B, and beyond, looking at the tech is very important there, but you're looking for very different things. I feel like, yeah, at
Mm.
that stage, you're looking for, is this, I call it more process things and more of team as a whole things. Like, is this team going to be able to scale? Are they going to be able to hire? Are they going to be able to scale up users or transactions or whatever it is that they need to scale up to support very rapid growth? As well as do they have the chops to build processes to ensure quality and ensure that the team can work together and kind of all of those things that come when you're rapidly adding 50, 100 developers to a team in a very short period of time. Those things are more important. Where we invest is at seed, where typically there is a product, some level of a product built, probably doesn't have product market fit, or maybe it has the early signs of product market fit. But generally speaking, there's a lot of work to do on the product, but there is something there, right? So when I start to dig in, before we invest at seed, one of the biggest indicators of success that I have seen, and I've been a part of many, 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 many product teams. I founded my own companies. I've been a first engineer. I've been an early employee. I've been an outside advisor. I've been hired to do M&A diligence. I've done expert witness. So I've seen a lot I have hundreds probably of different products and a lot of code. But I'll tell you that the one thing that I see at Seed that's the biggest indicator of success for me is the team's decisions around technical debt.
Mm. Okay.
So meaning, much like in our financial lives, we're told that debt is a good thing to an extent. So it's a smart decision to go out and buy a house and invest in that. And, you pay your mortgage over time. And then when you retire, you have an appreciating asset that's worth a lot of money, right? I think it's similar with tech. You take on a certain level of technical debt, and that is actually a good thing. And many developers and many software engineers, when they hear that, they get antsy, and they go, "What do you mean tech debt's a good thing? Technical debt?" We're kind of told throughout our whole careers, in college and in our working in our corporate lives, that technical debt's a bad thing, and technical debt will sink your product, and it should be avoided at all costs. I think at Seed, a certain level of technical debt is actually quite healthy, because the most important thing that we can do as founders and entrepreneurs at a seed stage company is build product that delights customers as quickly as possible,
Hmm.
because we need to get to product market fit, right? So that use of technical debt and that the team's choices around that tell me a lot about if they're going to be able to get there and if they can move and iterate at the speed they need to.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so we went, you talked about the pre-seed, the early stage, which, not coincidentally, we're getting ready to launch the next round of our incubator, which will be focused on that. And the focus of that incubator program will be um, customer, right? Understanding the customer. And so then you get into the seed stage and the tech, and you've talked about the team and scaling and product and on down the line. Um, so we obviously, there's an evolution there, and there's a spectrum there as we look at the different stages of a company, of a startup. When you're talking about the tech deck, help somebody like me that doesn't, or tech debt, help somebody like me that doesn't necessarily understand what that is. What's a good definition, easy definition for tech debt?
Yeah, so technical debt is when you as a team decide to do something with your product or with your code or with the architecture of the code that you're building. You make a choice to do something that's a short-term decision that maybe doesn't
Got it.
scale in the future. So, for
Yeah.
example, you might choose to, knowing that your current product has 0 users or maybe 1 or 2 users, you may know that the way that you're building this right now, if you were to suddenly add thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of users, like, it probably would crumble and break and explode and it would not work at all, right? But
Yeah.
knowing that you only have a few users now, you can make those choices in the short term and then know that later down the road, you can come back and fix that or pay down the tech debt, so to speak.
Got it.
So
Got
it's
it.
really a short term decision that you're making a trade off basically for speed or some other factor
Mhm.
that you'll have to revisit in the future.
Okay, but it's proof of concept at that point, right? Is
Many
that
times, yes, many
Yeah,
times, but you'd be surprised, like, from an engineering perspective, I mean, we're taught to build things that are robust and solid,
sure.
and
Yeah,
by the way, many software engineers, myself, I've made all these mistakes, by the way. Many software engineers want to build something that they're very proud of, and they can say, "Oh my gosh, look what I did! This thing can scale. We could add 1 million users tomorrow, and it can scale up." And that's a hard problem, right? And that's something that's
mhm,
difficult, and it's something that we get excited about solving. However, you got to really temper those instincts, in the short term to be able to iterate quickly and build product for customers.
yeah, yeah. So it seems to me there's sort of two sides of this, especially in the investment arena, right? There's the side where we have the startup, right, the founder side, and then of course there's the investor side. And in our world, sometimes that's a fund, it's an individual, we're focused on innovation for the built environment. So it might be an engineering firm or a construction company or somebody like that. So, what's the big takeaway? When we're talking about tech diligence, if I'm a founder, what is it that I need to be doing to position myself? And I guess you can pick the stage that you want to, because we talked about that spectrum. But what do I need to be doing as a founder to prepare myself for a potential investor that's doing a lot of tech diligence?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, be honest. No reason to try to hide things and make things seem better than they are. Like, we know as investors, especially in early stage, everything is not going to be perfect. There's no situation in which we're going to come in and it's going to be the most perfect, beautiful code with everything, all the ducks in a row, right? So, like, really, being honest during the diligence process about where you are and articulating the choices that you've made and why you've made them is the most it's the most useful thing you can do, at least for me, because like I said, I'm not planning on coming in and like I'm not looking for a reason to not invest. By the way,
Yeah.
like it's really more of understanding where you are, so that when we do invest, we know that we're allocating the proper money and the proper resources to get you to hit your milestones. And if you're covering things up and saying like, oh well, we're ready to go, we got these features built, or we can scale to this amount, and that's not true. But your plan is we're going to take on funding and then start doing those things, then we're all going to be in a big pickle down the road. So we really just want to better understand, kind of as trusted advisors or board members or, fiduciaries of the company, even when we invest, like, is our money going to actually be able to do the things that you're planning on doing, or do we need to plan for more? That could be more funding or more time or whatever it is, so that we can all be successful together.
Okay, so flip the script now, and if which you've been, as you said, you've been on both sides of the equation, but look at it now from the investor side. What do I need to be paying attention to as I'm doing my tech diligence? What are maybe the top three things that I'm looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe, honestly. Like, if you're not, it's tough for me. I come from a software background, computer science
Mhm.
background, and I built software. So it is kind of tough because there's no two systems that are the same. There's no one way to build any one product. You can build it 100 different ways. So it is honestly kind of tough to put a finger on like a very succinct message of what to be looking for. I'd say, other than, generally the team should be able to simply articulate to you, even as a non-technical person, the architecture and what they've built. And then you should be able to bring in someone who's written code before, and they can back up those assumptions very simply, right? Like, it's not, it's rarely ever so complicated that it can't be boiled down to terms that a layman can understand, and then shown very quickly in kind of a code review format that those things that they said actually match up to reality.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. You've got to be able to explain it to your grandma.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So as we look forward, 20 towards, well, we're past the halfway point now of 2023. So as we look forward to the end of 2023 and beginning of 2024, what excites you the most about what you're seeing out there in the startup world?
Yeah, it's a cliche, but everyone's talking about AI. It is exciting. It's definitely exciting. I, I think what we're seeing now is basically, more or less a consolidation of AI into these larger players. So you've got OpenAI, obviously. Facebook just released a new open source model that they're saying is called Llama, that they're saying that rivals OpenAI, right? So like, it really is reminiscent of the early days of kind of web software, whereas I was building web applications back in the early 2000s, and it was quite difficult because it hadn't been done thousands, hundreds of thousands of times like it has now, right? So the tooling, at that point was basically from scratch. Now it's evolved to, we have all these open source frameworks and tools and, examples, and everyone's done it many times. So it's like, back then, saying, well, I could do it as desktop software, I could do it as web software. Desktop
Mhm.
software was a lot easier. It was an easier choice. Now it's like, who would ever build desktop software? Like, it's 100 times easier to build a piece of web software now with all the tools available. And I think in a way these AI companies are causing that same thing to happen. So whereas we had companies before that were, their sole focus was, we're an AI company doing X, Y, and Z. Let's say we're AI and we're doing construction drawings, parsing construction drawings with AI and doing takeoffs or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
Um, you know, that is being commoditized now, where in OpenAI you can basically plug that in. So everyone is going to be able to do that. So now it's gone from that you're a company to very quickly, like, you're a feature, and Procore or whoever is gonna be doing that. So it's like almost table stakes at this point. Um, so I think it's really interesting, but I do think that a lot of these companies are going to kind of turn into features, and so many of their time, much of their time, maybe kind of on on borrowed time, so to speak. Whereas the larger companies are going to start implementing AI, and it's going to make everyone's life a lot easier. But like I said, it's going to become commoditized. So I'm really interested to see, where that goes, and also just the general challenges around data management with AI. I think is a very interesting topic that I'm keeping my eye on closely. And as it evolves and everyone gets more comfortable with it or more familiar with it, like how are we going to see companies pushing back? So are we going to see end users of software platforms going, "Hey, you can't use my data in your AI models for everyone else to benefit"? Are we going to see, specifically in construction and real estate, are we going to see owners start to push that onto their contractors, who are then going to push that onto the software companies? So it's like, and then are we going to see government regulations who are going to push all of that? It's just like in construction, everything's fragmented, but there's a very succinct chain of the value chain of
Right.
how the money flows, right? So are we going to start to see all of those parties kind of push down on the others, and how is that going to affect what these companies are doing with AI? It's a really fascinating topic that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, yeah, it is fascinating, and if you're out there listening to this now or watching this, if you love these conversations, and as Matt said, everybody loves talking about AI. We at Shadow are looking forward to October 24th through 26th, in Atlanta on the campus of Georgia Tech. We're going to host the 7th annual Shadow Summit. You can find out more about that at shadowsummit.com. The URL is in the lower left-hand corner of your screen right now. But one of the panels may actually happen to be about AI. You just have to wait and see. Hint, hint. So if you're not familiar, Shadow Summit is a yearly summit. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is purposefully intimate, a maximum of 200 tickets. We can't bring more chairs into the theater, so 200 tickets maximum. And it is 2 days of diving deep into conversations like this: venture funding, tech diligence, generative AI, things that affect housing, things that affect labor, finance, economy, and financial uh, outlooks for investing, et cetera. So go to shadowsummit.com for more information about that. Again, it is purposefully intimate and highly curated. So there's a button at the top of that page at shadowsummit.com to apply to attend. Hit that, because the tickets are, I get a notification every once in a while about another ticket or a group of tickets being sold. They're going. Get yours now. So go to shadowsummit.com for that. Matt, thanks a lot for this. We could keep going, obviously, with this conversation for a long time, which is, what's going to happen at Shadow Summit. And appreciate everything you do, and appreciate this conversation today.
Of course, thanks, Jeff, for having me. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. And for all of you out there, thanks for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow with another conversation with an expert or thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. So see you tomorrow on Shadow Shorts. Thanks, everybody.